Now, they are getting to explain how the interview went on. Maria walked into a room in which 5 men, including the president of the company, 2 vice presidents, the marketing director, and another engineer, began throwing questions at her that she felt were aimed primarily at tripping her up rather than finding out what she could offer through her engineering skills. So she walked into the interview. There were 5 interviewers. All the interviewers bunched up questions against Maria, and it was a clear-cut, planned initiative of insulting her, and it was a kind of very rigorous questions. And Maria had an impression that, come on, these guys are not asking these questions to know my skills, but they are trying to put me away. They are trying to get things away from me. They are trying to pressurize me. So she came to understand that, because the questions were like that. Imagine, my dear friends, if we were in such a position, how bad we will feel. Look at the questions. Like, the questions ranged from unnecessarily discourteous. Example, why would you take a job as a waitress in college if you are such an intelligent person? Irrelevant question. Another example for an irrelevant question. Are you planning on settling down and starting a family anytime soon? So they were asking, why do you want to join as a waitress to clean the environment here in the company? So you were like this in the college also? That was a question, quite unnecessary question. And another question, are you planning to get into a family soon? So you want to have a practice here for keeping the environment clean. As a good family, homely girl, you would like to have a good time in the residence. So that is why you are taking it as a practice session. So all these discourteous questions were thrown to Maria. Then after the interview, she met with 2 of the gentlemen individually, including the president of the company. And the discussions focused almost exclusively on her technical expertise. She thought that these later discussions went fairly well. So Maria planned to meet 2 of the executives who had interviewed her. After the interview, she went very boldly to the president and another executive, and she asked, what was the reason for such a very rigorous form of questioning, sir? And what was the reason for it? What is the intention behind it? She asked. But for her fortune, my dear friends, the discussion after the interview went on so well. Those people were very nice to her by answering very politely, and she found those people very decent enough to answer her questions. She thought that these later discussions went fairly well. However, given the apparent aimlessness and even mean-spiritedness of the panel interview, she was astonished when several days later she got a job offer of the firm. For our surprise, for Maria's surprise, she knows that the interview did not go on well, but later point of time, she got an offer from the job. It was so much surprising for Maria herself. The offer forced her to consider several matters. From her point of view, the job itself was perfect. She liked what she would be doing, the industry and the firm's location. And in fact, the president had been quite courteous in subsequent discussions, as had been the other members of the management team. She was left wondering whether the panel interview had been intentionally tense to see how she would stand up under the pressure, and if so, why they would do such a thing. So friends, the interview was clearly a failure, and there was not even a single percentage of clue left for Maria that she will get the job. Never ever in her wildest dreams she imagined that the job will be in her hands. But to her surprise, the job was given. So she was wondering what has really happened in the interview, why these people had behaved so much indecent to me, why they have been asking such rubbish questions to me, and now I have got the job offer, and the job terms are very perfect. They have given the salary that I would be expecting. They have given a very good environment to work. So she was wondering, rather than the happiness she had for getting the job, my dear friends, she was having a big surprising content to think about. Now here comes the questions for us to think. Look at the question, such a lengthy question. How would you explain the nature of the panel interview Maria had to endure? Specifically, do you think it reflected a well thought out interviewing strategy on the part of the firm, or carelessness on the part of the firm's management? If it was carelessness, what would you do to improve the interview process at Apex Environmental? So friends, it's not time for us to be in Maria's position. It's time for us to be in the interviewer's position. Like, look at the first question. The crux of the question goes like this, my dear friends. It's very simple. The crux goes like this. Was the interview a planned one to hurt Maria's emotional intelligence, or it was unintentional? If you think it's a planned one, tell me why it is a planned one. If you think it's unintentional, how will it change this panel? How will it change this interview technique? How better you can be an interviewer to your candidates where you are going and recruiting people? That is the first question. What a timing. Come. It's time for us to think, my dear friends. It's very simple. Like, what do you think about this case, first of all? So do we need time to analyze this case and answer, or are we going to see persons answering the questions right away? If you need time, say you need time louder. We'll start right away. We have persons to answer the questions. Before we have the persons answer the question, few things about why this case has been meant, why this case has been prepared for you. Now friends, interview is a kind of temporary individuality. The interview is a place where you are acting. The interview is a place where you give a disguised form of your individuality. It's a place where you are not your own self. But that's a game. That is the game, and that is the nature of the particular game. We have to be a little animated than what we are actually. So, I just wanted you to know how different interviews are going to be in the future. And this Maria Fernandez case is meant in such a way that your interview facing skills will be even more nourished, will be even more, better. That is why this case has been given to you. So as people progress by speaking the answers for these questions, you will come to know what are the natures of it. So you strictly analyze the case, and after 2 minutes time, you start giving the answer for this. Again, just like the case of call center, apart from the questions that are present in the case, I will ask some questions and you need to answer. So, let me see who is coming voluntarily.
D'Souza Embergis.
D'Souza, fine. So D'Souza, the question is very simple. Now, instead of asking you to answer the first question, my question is simple. What would you do if you were Maria in that interview? Now forget the point that Maria had been given the offer, D'Souza. But she's attending the interview. She's attending the interview. And how are you going to react if you were Maria D'Souza?
Sir, during the interview time?
Yeah, during the interview time.
I will make myself in a cool position to answer the question.
Yeah, $1 million question. Making the self cool during a disastrous situation. How?
Because the interview is somewhat a serious thing, and so if I will be short-tempered, I will make myself into a relaxed position by adjusting my temper.
Okay, fine. So, what do you think? Like, when during an interview, if a person like Maria is a short-tempered person, now nowhere in the case it is mentioned that she is a short-tempered person, but if it had been a short-tempered person, if you were the interviewer, and the person whom you are interviewing is getting short-tempered and the person is raising voice against you, being an interviewer, how will you tackle this? Now the previous question was, I wanted you to become an interviewee. Now I wanted you to answer this question, being an interviewer, employer.
I will not select that person.
You will say what, D'Souza? I mean, you will saying what, you will reject the person. You have a biggest responsibility of rejecting the person, no? Saying what, you will reject the person.
Because I trust that person, during the interview I stressed that person by asking some unwanted questions. Then he is shouting at me. That means he is short-tempered and he can't control himself. He is not able to control himself. So I will not select that person, or I will think twice for selecting that person.
All right, fine. Fantastic. Thank you so much. Good. Name. Name. Kumaresh, why is it like coming here and answering for a question is so difficult for an individual? Why do you think individuals are very much feeling difficult to come and answer here, being here? What do you think is the reason for this?
I think very hesitating and shy.
Very?
These are the reason. Hesitate and shy.
Oh,
Shyness.
hesitation and shyness. Now, Kumaresh, when with the same hesitation and shyness, if Maria had been in the interview, right? She has got a dream job and she's going to get the dream job in Apex International. She's attending the interview, and if she's having the same shyness and hesitation that you are mentioning right now, Kumaresh, will she get the job? You told hesitation and shyness are the reasons for a person to come and stand in the middle and answer a question, right? If Maria had this weakness now, do you think she would get the job?
No.
No, right? And if you were the interviewer, just like I was asking D'Souza, if you are the interviewer and you see a person in front of you feeling so much hesitating, feeling so much shy, what will be your advice as an interviewer to that person? ஒரு இன்டர்வியூவரா அவங்களுக்கு நீங்க என்ன அட்வைஸ் பண்ணுவீங்க?
I make freedom with I just read the freedom. That's all.
Fine. Eppadi. Now instead of the question what, my favorite question is how. Yeah, you said you will be giving some liberty and freedom. How can you give liberty and freedom to the person?
First of all, I give
Any volunteers to answer the first question of the case, friends? Before we choose the next person, any volunteers to come in? I'm not going to question them. All they have to do is just answer the first question of the case. It's very simple. Now you need to answer the first question. Why do you think Maria has been screwed so much? What is the nature of this interview as per your opinion?
It should be having a stress interview.
Fantastic. So stress interview. Okay, so getting plunged into stress interview. Now represent everybody here. Now I know, as per my opinion, as per the experience I had with our VSPNs, we don't need stress interviews. One ordinary interview is good enough to test our VSPN skill, right? They are talented enough and they can answer. Of course, yes. But still, why companies are preferring to conduct stress interview? What is the reason behind this?
To handle some pressurized situations and how they are tackling their problems when they face, and how do they react with the customers.
Just by answering few questions in a moment of 5 minutes, just with the way of answering questions in a moment of 5 minutes, how will you conclude that the person has got a good stress handling capability and pressure handling capability?
In the 5 minutes, whatever the questions you could make the pressure on the candidate, they will put on the more pressure on the candidate, and they could easily verify within the 5 minutes. And 5 minutes is more than enough to check a candidate's stress.
And one question the same question that I asked to D'Souza, the question is very simple. Like, if the interviewee abstracts too much of short-temperedness in front of you, the person shows heavy shades of short-temperedness. பயங்கரமா கோவப்படுற அந்த symptoms வந்து அவங்க கிட்ட உங்களுக்கு தெரியும். Now, how will you tackle this?
probably I'll choose him even. Sometimes we need some short-tempered persons.
We need some aggression also.
Aggression also, sir. Of course, latest issue is aggression about the aggressive boys in our Indian team. So we need some aggressive people here and there to handle the situations.
Fantastic. Thank you, Rajesh. Thank you. Kartika. So Kartika, what will you do if you were Maria Fernandez in the interview? She's a mechanical engineer by graduation. And she is interviewed on a very, very rough fashion. Stress interview in Rajesh சொன்னார் இல்லையா, அந்த மாதிரி ரொம்ப pressurized situations கொடுத்து ரொம்ப hard questions, harsh questions கேட்குறாங்க. இப்போ நீங்க வந்து மரியா ஃபெர்னாண்டஸாக இருந்தால் என்ன பண்ணுவீங்க கார்த்திகா?
Give a good answer to satisfy.
Okay, அந்த கேஸ்ல இருக்கிற ஒரு question நான் கேட்குறேன். As per your wish, you are giving me a good answer. The question is ரொம்ப simple. Apex Internationalல ஒரு நீட்னஸ் அப்படிங்கறத என்ஷூர் பண்றதுக்கு ஒரு இன்ஜினியரா, லைக் மெயின்டெனன்ஸ் இன்ஜினியரா அவங்க போக போறாங்க. யாரு? மரியா ஃபெர்னாண்டஸ். அதுக்கு அந்த இன்டர்வியூவர் கேட்கறாரு, being a mechanical engineer, why should you downtrod yourself to this ordinary position? அதாவது அவங்களுடைய ஃபியூச்சரே ஆர்டினரி பொசிஷன் சொல்லி சொல்றாரு. And he is insulting her by saying something wrong about the nature of the work. Now this is a question. You said you will try to give a good answer. Now, what good answer will you give for this question? When someone keeps on asking about our dream, when someone keeps on blaming that our dream is not that much commanding enough, நம்மளுக்கு பயங்கர கோவம் வரும். அதான் இங்கே நடக்குது. So what are we going to do? I know you can answer. Environment அப்படிங்கிறது தான் உங்களை பேச விடாம தடுக்குதுன்னு எனக்கு நல்லா தெரியும். என்விரான்மெண்ட், நானும் அந்த என்விரான்மெண்ட்டை பற்றி கவலைப்படணும். காலையிலிருந்து ஐ எம் ஒர்க்கிங் த பீப்புள் அப்படின்னு நான் நினைக்கலாம், ஐ எம் இரிட்டேட்டிங் த பீப்புள் நினைக்கலாம், இவங்க எல்லாத்துக்கும் நான் பேசுறதை போர் அடிக்குதுன்னு நான் நினைக்கலாம், ஹாட் சன் இந்த டைமில் ட்ரைனிங் ரொம்ப அவசியமாக நான் நினைக்கலாம், இந்த கேஸ் ரொம்ப முக்கியமாக நான் நினைக்கலாம். எனக்கும் இப்படி நினைக்கிறதுக்கெல்லாம் சாய்ஸ் இருக்கு. ஆனால் என்றைக்குமே நான் இந்த சாய்ஸ் எல்லாம் எடுத்ததே கிடையாது. ஐ டேக் தி அதர் சாய்ஸ். ஒரு a blind confidence that people like me, a blind confidence that people like what is happening here. That's life. அப்படிதான் லைஃப் எடுத்துக்கணும். அப்படி நினைச்சிட்டு you try to answer this question.
I select a good person for working in my company.
Thank you, Kathy. Fantastic. Good. Thank you. Thank you. And Suresh, what do you think? Stress interview, is it needed for Maria, a person like Maria Fernandez?
Yes, sir, it is needed. Because I think the interview panel was want to know the mental ability of Maria. Because basically she is a mechanical engineer, but she wants to keep the environmental neatness. So the panel interview was thinking how able to good in your job. So the panel interview was in stress interview.
And in the stress interview, you are a stress interviewed candidate. You see a particular person who had been so much rough and tough to you. The person has been asking so much rubbish questions. You managed to answer, you managed to get the job also. After a couple of months' time, you are meeting the person again in your office, the person who has interviewed so badly. How will you react to that person?
First of all, I will say thank you, sir, and I will give treat also.
Fine. So what is the intention behind this? You are celebrating that occasion and you are acknowledging the person with gratitude. Why? Why should you do this?
Because she is selecting and the interviewer was extracting my ability through the interview. So I will give treat.
It's fine. So one last question, Suresh. Now, the first question, again, associating myself with the first question. Do you think it's a planned interview? It's a planned interview, right? And you become a business development manager in the near future, and you plan to conduct a stress interview for the candidates, that too for the students from the college like PSP. What kind of stress interview will you plan? And what sort of questions you will plan to ask?
According to the job,
The job is maintenance manager.
yes.
No idea? Right. Anyways, thank you, Suresh. Thank you so much. Good. So Shabir, what will you do if Maria Fernandez is being interviewed like this? If you are an interviewer and she keeps on complaining to you, come on, your interviewing strategy was so ridiculous to me. After the interview, she comes and tells you, the interview was so much ridiculous to me. How will you tackle this?
I will not tell anything to the interviewer. I will just congratulate him. Because through him only I got the job.
No, Shabir, you are the interviewer and Maria was the interviewee. Among the 5 people, Maria is coming and complaining to you. She says, Mr. Shabir, it was so much unfair on your part. Why did you ask so much rubbish questions to me? And you are alone, your team members are not there. Your other interviewing panel members are not along with you. Now what answer you have for Maria Fernandez?
It was a planned interview to check on your physical mentality.
That's all. Right. And one last question to you. Why do you think companies should hire mechanical engineers? Software companies should hire mechanical engineers. What reason?
Because of their need.
What?
Software companies need more and more mechanical engineers.
You have the ability to make everybody laugh at any moment. No, I'm asking, what is the need? What is the need that software companies have? What will a mechanical engineer do getting into software office? Right, so you make flute out of this method. என்னை எப்படியெல்லாம் ராகிங் பண்ண முடியுமோ அப்படிலாம் பண்ணுங்க எல்லாரும் சேர்ந்து. Come on, hold the mic. Vinod. So Vinod, you tell me now, after having, I'm asking the second question of this case. After having so much toiled with such questions, such vigorous questions, Vinod, and finally in the case, they are offering the job to Maria, am I right? Yes, sir. Fine. So I know that you have made the flute out of this paper after reading it. Did you read it?
Yes.
Yeah, fine. So the offer is ultimately given into the hands of Maria. Now if you were Maria Fernandez, will you get the offer or will you make even the offer letter like this?
No, sir. You surely accept the offer.
Why? Those people have irritated you, those people have tested your emotional intelligence. And why do you think that you will take the offer?
So actually they are testing my mental ability. I will accept the job.
You will?
Accept the job.
Accept the job. Fine. So, what is your opinion about conducting the stress interview? Now you become eligible, and just like the question that I asked to Suresh, you become eligible after a long time, and you are a capable person to conduct interview. What kind of stress interview? How you will design the stress interview? What are all the questions you will ask for a person to whom you conduct the interview? Simple question.